For those who don't know, and I don't think there's anyone in the city that doesn't know, last Friday night was an event called Critical Mass. And the question I get asked everywhere is, do I participate? And the question is, I do not. And the reason why is that I don't really consider that a bike ride for bicyclists. It's a bicycle ride for those who want to have a good time on a Friday night. The problem I had with Friday night, from what I saw, was that there was blatant disrespect for our traffic laws, basic disrespect for manners in general, bicyclists riding in the street and on the sidewalk, making it difficult not only to drive a car, but to walk on the sidewalk, regular cyclists who felt like they were being barraged by cyclists in and of themselves, who, for whatever reason, just bicycled because that's what they do for their mode of transportation. I wanted to talk to the police department because the next ride is Memorial Day weekend. And the last thing I want us to do is sit here and know that that could impact us and ignore it. And as a cyclist, I got to tell you, I'm embarrassed if this is what people think bicycle riders are like. Because the people I ride with abide by laws, monitor traffic, and do, I wouldn't say everything right, but they do most things right. And so for this to be what people think bicycle riding is, frankly, is embarrassing. So, guys, what do we do? Because we can't stop them from coming here, all right? Well, they have the right.
Well, we can.
Yeah. Well, my understanding is that they have the right to ride their bicycle here, just like they have the right to drive a car. But they do have to abide by traffic laws. They do have to have civil discourse, okay? They have to do the kinds of things that you and I have to do when we go to work every day and come to City Hall and go home. And my question is, why don't they, and how do we get them to do it?
Well, if I can chime in real quick, if they want to do it during Memorial Day weekend, let them do it right when we're doing one of our roadblocks on MacArthur, and we'll apply the roadblock rules to everybody on a bicycle, and let's see what happens. Because I'll tell you right now, you can get a DUI on a bicycle. Most people don't know that. It's on the books.
And I can tell you on a Friday night critical mass ride, perhaps that's definitely true.
There you go.
Well, thank you. First and foremost, we don't sponsor this event. It's not sponsored by the city. It's just a mass group of people. And I think what it first started off with was, to create awareness for bicyclists. And it's kind of morphed into something more than that. It's morphed into a situation where not just our city, other cities try to deal with it. So, we had a decision to make. Not do anything like some other cities have done or go ahead and staff it. And we went ahead and staffed it. And frankly, we did the best that we could. We put over...
How many people just staff it with?
Over 30 people.
Wow. And what did that cost us in overtime?
Over $5,700. So, so now you're faced with, okay, we almost like facilitated this for the next time. There's no guarantee that it's going to be here the next time. They usually choose different routes. But I think in large part, as though our citizens or vehicle or motorists don't want to hear this, we almost facilitated this. I happened to be there for the event. I was up in a helicopter. Miami-Dade was gracious enough to lend us their helicopter. Well, not lend us, but provide us the pilot and their helicopter. And frankly, to get a bird's eye view really was a wake-up call. It really was. And we managed it, I think, more efficiently because of that. And, if it does occur here the next time, and I've been told it's not going to occur Memorial Day weekend, it's going to occur the weekend after that, and there's no guarantee that it'll be here. Hopefully we'll have the helicopter. The benefit of the helicopter. But with that said, what you did see, and you're right, Commissioner, we saw a lot of people that weren't obeying the bicycle laws, and that's unfortunate. There's a whole group of people, and in the interest of time, there's families, there's those people that really don't really care about the law and whatnot. What we need to find is, and what we tried to find at this time was, who is the spokesperson for the event? Because we'd like to set up some rules, is frankly what we'd like to do. I won't go into that right now, but, if we have those conversations, if we're able to find out who that person is, I think it'll benefit us tremendously. I mean, I think if we're able to find somebody and establish rules, I think it can be a very nice event. Frankly speaking, but the way it happened the other night, I mean, just to see when we took 8 minutes or more, we cut it down to video, and at some point maybe we'll show it to you. But yeah, it was really
I would like them to see it. The other thing is, when I cycle and I do rides, we're in groups or packs depending on speed, and they will close the street for our group to go by, but then they open the street up in between packs, and if you lose the pack and get dropped, and I have been dropped in my cycling career on occasion, You have got to abide by traffic laws. You have to stop for red lights. You have to do the kinds of things just like any other vehicle does. And I think it's really important that with this number of riders, and this is a huge number of riders, that they have to stop and allow a certain amount of, because God forbid, someone should have had to get to a hospital or something else could have happened. There was no moving in parts of this beach, and that really scares me. And I know that you guys would have figured out a way if that happened, but
What you would see was you would see us stopping the bicyclists to let the traffic flow, and then they would get frustrated. The bicyclists would get frustrated, and they'd break the line. And really, it's so manpower intensive. And you're right. There's thousands, literally thousands of bicycles that it's nearly impossible.
Major, is this happening all across the country, or is it just?
I believe it is. I know it's happening in South Florida. They're choosing different locations, and we just happen to be on their list.
Have we talked to any other? Have we talked to any other jurisdictions, chiefs? Anyone get some ideas and what they're doing?
Frankly, I believe we're one of the few agencies that does anything. And I said earlier that we were faced with not doing anything like some other jurisdictions or doing something, and we took the route to doing something. And I think what we did was we worked with our transportation board or our department, and I believe we did mitigate it as best as possible.
And if I could, I think the decision by the department to do this was the right decision, and it's been applauded seemingly in the past by everybody that's been involved, directly or indirectly. I think it's great what they did. The problem that we have is that the geography of Miami Beach is not conducive to this. In other jurisdictions, you can work around it. But in Miami Beach, we only have one hospital, we only have one, and then we only have one way to get to rider trauma. Very true. That's the main issue that we have is we only got one or two or maybe three ways off the beach. And that's the major concern that we have. And I have never received as many calls as I did this past week regarding this.
Same here. It's like unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a very unfortunate, and I apologize for that. But
so Memorial Day weekend, what are we planning to do?
I don't want you to think I'm criticizing the police department. I'm not, because my original outreach to you guys, I was like, guys, they were not abiding by the law, and I have to. So what makes them special?
Right.
I mean, how do we fix this? Because I really want them to abide by the same traffic laws, frankly, that I do. The rest of our citizens have to. So why is a group here on a Friday night get a pass?
Right. There are just so many people. Unlike motorists, when you pull one motorist over, the other motorists take notice and they behave, so to speak. But there's so many bicyclists, it's just so overwhelming. So
they're coming back on Memorial Day weekend?
We're told it's going to be the weekend after. And mind you, it may not be here. They choose different locations.
Okay, great. Anything else, everybody?
That's it. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Major.
I'm glad you brought this up.
Do you have some comment you'd like to make?
I just would like to clarify a couple things about
your name, please.
What critical mass is. My name is Ken Boreski. I'm a resident of South Beach, a bike rider. I've been participating on and off in the critical mass rides for about 9 years. The first one I went on, there were 12 riders on it. There's a whole lot more than that now. For the record, thank you guys for everything you do. Riding the ride, it flows a whole lot better through Miami Beach than it does in various other jurisdictions because they help out. Yes, there are things that need to be addressed, and everybody that's been involved with critical mass for a long time will tell you that. Some of the problems are what critical mass is. Critical mass was created, it's a worldwide thing, the last Friday of every month. Same time, same basic place, every month all around the world. Basically, it's cyclists exercising their rights to the road. As a cyclist, I'm sick of being run off the road, of being attacked by drivers. Critical mass is there's enough of us bikes out there that a car's going to have to stop. They can't run us over and leave us for dead because there's so many of us. That's what critical mass is. Now, unfortunately, there is no leader for critical mass. There are a lot of people that do it all of the time, but critical mass as a movement is a leaderless movement. So keep in mind how we address it, what it's about, so that you're not vilifying people that are basically standing up for their rights to be on the road. Now, that being said, yes, it would be great if we can get some of them to behave, because you know what really aggravates me, having done critical mass for 9 years? When I see some moron on a bike drinking a beer and throw the beer can on the side of the road. That aggravates me more than anyone else, because I fight day in and day out to make the road safer for cyclists. So I don't know. I don't have a solution to it, but I just wanted to let you guys know a little more what critical mass is.
Ken, let me ask you. Do you see an irony in you want to show your right to the road and then you see a red light and everybody blows it? Like listen, or there's a stop sign, or there's a pedestrian. All those things. Pedestrians are supposed to come number one before bicycles or cars or anybody else. And I'll tell you, pedestrians can't get through. Red lights are getting run. Traffic laws apply to everybody, and they blow through like it's St. Patrick's Day parade. And it's hypocritical. It's hypocritical. Like, I don't get it. I know a lot of people that ride in it, and I have the same conversation with all of them. And I'm not like an old stick in the mud. And I think I think it's great that everybody's out and having a good time, and that's great. But you know what? If I got to drive my kid to the hospital, I'm taking out some bikes, and it's not right. If you want to really educate the world about what bicyclists want, then I would be more impressed if everybody stopped at the red lights and everybody respected the rules of the road, which
or even got a parade permit to go through, like the marathons do, the runners. They'll get a permit, they'll get a parade permit of some sort.
But critical mass is about a cyclist being part of traffic. And I agree with you in many respects on what you were saying there. If I could address a couple items on that. One of the reasons that I was referencing it flows easier through Miami Beach than it does elsewhere is because they're directing. What happens when you get a couple cars in the middle of 2,000 bikes, that makes it even worse. So it's a lesser of two evils. Yes, you're right. Cyclists should not be blowing through red lights. But if you have 200 cyclists, 2 motor vehicles, 200 cyclists, 2 motor vehicles, the difference in the way those vehicles operate is going to make traffic 100,000 times worse than when cyclists treat themselves as a mass or a vehicle. The critical mass, when the lead gets to a red light, they stop. Once the mass starts moving, the collective treats itself like a single vehicle. And you're right, there are many legal issues with that. But the reality is we're dealing with a situation where our system is broken. You're talking about cyclists blowing red lights. Did you know that pretty much every red light in this county is broken? I ride a carbon fiber bike. I can sit on those red light sensors for 2 days, and they will never change for me. So how can you expect a cyclist to follow to the letter of the law when the whole system that's out there, when the way these roads are built, when the infrastructure we're using doesn't work for those vehicles? So we have a broken legal system. Why a bicycle is classified the same exact way as a motor vehicle?
It's not. Hold on. It's not. Well, because a bicycle can ride on a crosswalk. I know the laws very well on this, so don't do that. No, because that's not true. Bicycles have more rights than vehicles because you can ride a bicycle on a crosswalk and be treated like a pedestrian. Yeah. So that's not true.
Bicycles are both pedestrians and vehicles, which is part of the problem, I think, is that there's no what is a bicycle by law? There's no actual answer to that. We're both a car and a vehicle. So it's an issue. I mean, and I know everybody's got a lot to do, so I would love to have a dialogue with any of you guys at any point, because I hate seeing critical mass what it's become. I love that there's 2,000 people in it. I love that there's all these people out there showing that there is a demand for biking around here. But it would be wonderful if we could figure out a way to work with them to make it be a good example of the benefits of cycling, because that's what it's supposed to be.
I agree.
But
I agree with you 100%.
It is a leaderless movement. Specifically,
I'm not so sure. I think we found our leader, Major.
Ken and I have talked on many occasions.
Put him under arrest. That's it. That's your guy.
But so that exactly, and what you were saying, Commissioner Steinberg, about a parade and everything, that's why it's a leaderless movement. Because nobody wants to be the one to be, I'm accountable for 3,000 morons on bikes. Okay, sorry, it's 2,500 good cyclists, 250 people that are borderline, and 250 complete and total morons. No one wants to take complete responsibility for them. And that's why it's a leaderless movement, which makes it difficult to do what we need to do now. It's gotten too big for itself. Critical Mass Miami has spawned off another group in Critical Mass Broward. They used to, all the Fort Lauderdale people used to come down and ride in Miami. Now they do their own ride in Broward. And there's been various groups splintering off because there's a lot of people that aren't happy with what it's becoming.
But, it's not just the safety for the pedestrians or the people in the cars, it's the safety for you all who are riding
I agree completely.
In the mass.
I agree completely.
And on Friday night, it's particularly an interesting night for us here in Miami Beach because you have pedestrians who have no choice but to walk because they keep certain religions, and they have to walk to the house of worship, and they can't. I mean, there's so many other obstacles that we face.
I'd love to chat with you guys about how to make it better, but I just wanted to clarify what critical mass is.
Thank you, and I think Miami Beach overall is very respectful of cyclists, but this mass in general,
I would have to beg to differ.
Sure. If you all won't take the responsibility, why should the city take responsibility?
Thank you.
I'm not taking responsibility for anyone else. I can't.
And why should we take responsibility for you? I mean, this is ridiculous. You're putting our people who live here at risk when you go through and don't obey the traffic laws. You put our people who might get sick and need an emergency vehicle at risk while the emergency vehicle can't get through because they've been running over bicyclists. Okay. You are absolutely acting irresponsibly.
Okay.
And I want to set the record straight. You said something that's wrong. The rules of cycling are that the leader goes through the light, and if the light changes, you must stop, just like any other vehicle. And the fact that these people continue to go is frankly wrong. When I ride Dolphins Challenge, Lotus House, all those rides, even though they close streets, at some points of the day in some intersections, we stop. The last part of my ride, I had to stop for like 2 or 3 lights. And it's just, I mean, I know that if I see a light that's an extended green, that I've got to at least slow down enough to be prepared to stop. And in my case, that means clipping out in time. And listen, I have a carbon, fiber bike also. I have the same issue you do, where I could sit there all day and I have to take my bike to the side, just like I'm sure you do, and press the button sometimes to walk. And it's really horrible, and you're right. But, just because we have wrongs doesn't make this event right. Commissioner Malikoff's right.
Just to be very clear on this, the reason there's no leader is because right now you guys are saying that I'm the irresponsible one.
No.
And that's the problem.
Take us to your leader.
There is no leader. That would like me saying to you guys that you all need to stop driving cars because that guy was driving 100 miles per hour in his really expensive car, so you all need to stop doing it because he didn't respect the laws.
Okay. Can we move on?
This is a bigger issue than
that. Thank you, Major. Thanks very much.
May I say one more thing? Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. in front of the police station is our police memorial ceremony. It recognizes all the Miami Beach police officers that have perished in the line of duty. It's a really great event. You're all welcome to attend. Thank you.
10 a.m. tomorrow. Okay. Thank you, Major.
Let's do
okay. We have